Yes, welcome to Life Made Up of Questions. Today we are having our guest, Dr. Nikita Hari. Nikita Hari is an engineering innovator and influencer in global higher education, featured in the top 50 women in engineering in the UK, and listed as a Clinton Global Changemaker. She is a TEDx speaker with 100 plus talks to her credit. A Queen Elizabeth Prize in Engineering Global Ambassador. She is a mentor for many youngsters in STEM with a PhD in electrical engineering from University of Cambridge and postdoctoral fellowship from University of Oxford. She has 26 research publications, numerous awards and scholarships to her credit. Her interdisciplinary research focuses on power electronics and sustainable transformational engineering education models. An elected member of various advisory committee of government bodies, startups, and university. She is the present co-chair of the Independent Higher Education Research and Innovation Network in UK. Currently spearheading engineering education transformation. She is the lead in innovation learning expert in electronics and design. Okay, welcome Dr. Nikita to this forum, Life Made Up of Questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hari Krishnan. I am delighted to be here and I appreciate the invitation. I'm looking forward to our discussion.
Yes. So first of all, in this current scenario, like we are into the end of 2022 after the pandemic. So there is a lot of revolution and transformation happening in the global job market as well as in the education sector. So now we are having a trend that many students migrating to abroad. They are totally confused and they don't know what are the scopes, what are the subjects, and what will be the future. They're totally confused. And after plus two itself, we can see this changes happening. So what is your opinion regarding this initially?
So just like you have pointed out, there is a lot of revolutionary changes happening across the globe. And if you look at it, we can possibly, divide that into different kinds of landscapes interacting, right? So if you look at it, there is globalization and digitalization, and that is impacting any job, any problem, solution, or innovation. And particularly, let's just focus on engineering discipline as such. So a common thread, if you look at this, will be the blurring of boundaries, right? Boundaries between nations, disciplines, professionals, between academia and industry, and between applied science and engineering. So everything is quite, there is no siloed branches or any kind of landscape nowadays. So anything and everything is networked and connected. Distance, space, and time are no longer boundaries for practicing engineering or innovation. So if you look at it, mobile communication, social media, cloud computing, big data analytics, smart devices, connected objects, sensors, fundamentally, all these change the way we live, we work, we communicate, we travel, we play, whatever. So bringing now with that as context, thinking about students and education, the race, let's say, to find talented students or academic scientists, it's a global one. It's not an Indian problem. And it can be basically summarized as a commodification of higher education, right? Talent mobility is an important driver for creativity and innovation. So mobilizing talent is one thing that's happening while all these changes are coming forward. Now, whilst let's just keep that in mind. We need, mobilizing talent means moving jobs to where talent is instead of recruiting talent for where the jobs are. Now, there is also this horizontalization of the economic world that's happening, right? It's transferring power between consumers and end users. And so that has basically led to a liberalization of the world of work, where hierarchies have become fluid. Now, if you look at the world of engineering, so this liberalization has basically percolated down to higher education. But what has happened is higher education has not just being liberalized, it's monetized, it's privatized. You already touched upon it. And so many things are happening. So that's one thing. So this blending of technical, economic, and social structures, that's another major change that's happening as well. So that is leading businesses and innovation approaches where engineering or technology-driven innovation is replaced by, let's say, more client and consumer-driven approaches. Now, this is our current world, right? So this is like a kaleidoscopic view of tomorrow's world of work. And what will be that world of work? How will that look like? So let's say access to easy to use, powerful softwares, tools and equipment, along with online access to markets, funding data. All these are revolutionized or revolutionizing the way we are designing, developing, manufacturing, financing, selling, and consuming products. Now, these are obviously at all these at many levels are being done by engineers. Yes, I'm sure you can all agree. Now, if you think about it, it's a very complex, volatile, uncertain world. We call it as a VUCA world, right? There's so many flavors. And this is not just changing, but this is also continually changing. And our educational programs are unfortunately not able to keep pace with it. So universities have to definitely rethink their role in technical engineering and associated professional capabilities. So no matter how uncertain or complex the future may be, the future of work may be, our engineers have to be ready to deliver and get things done in the new economy or the new world order. Now, our educational systems globally are very traditional, very conservative. Yes, it's changing, but it's very knowledge oriented. And let's just focus on engineering as such. We always, especially in India, in Kerala, what we have is a knowledge based engineering program or engineering degree curriculum. It's actually not engineering, it's engineering science that's being taught, right? So, engineering, if you look at a very broad and simple definition of engineers, I would say engineers make things, we make things work and we make things work better. But can an engineering student who goes through our traditional engineering 4-year engineering degree program come out and make things? Can the majority of them make? And it's the tragedy that 90%, and I think the statistically in India, more than 95% of the engineering graduates do not have the necessary engineering skills. So obviously, engineering education needs to reorient itself from a knowledge-based or knowledge-only based education to a skill-based education. We need to think about what are the 21st century skills that an engineer requires. And I think one of the things that people don't really realize is engineering is everywhere, right? Today we are communicating, we are talking, it's all being possible because of engineering. The world literally is oiled by engineering. So it is such a broad scope and length and breadth. There needs to be a basic understanding that the globalization, digitalization, the hierarchical structures being fluid, the horizontalization of world order, all this requires that an engineer needs to have the skills, not just technical, but they need to be able to collaborate. They need to be able to communicate. They need to be able to understand the history, geography, and all those kind of things. So basically, we need to be able to have a hybrid model of knowledge and skill-based education, and educational structures need to reinvent themselves.
Yes, exactly. As you have mentioned, the definition of engineering, whether it's physics, chemistry, maths, or biology, or any other commerce or arts or anything, creating something innovative, beneficial for the society is engineering. It can be a chef is doing an engineering job, a doctor is doing an engineering job, a scientist is doing something. Anything creative or innovatively, if you are doing on an application based upon the fundamental science, technology, or anything else, it can be termed as engineering. So it's the beauty of engineering. But ultimately, what I feel is that as India is
Mhm.
producing a lot of engineering graduates as well as the medical professionals or chartered accountants or whatever it may be, we can see that on a global basis, these graduates are showing some quality when they're going abroad or then when they're working in industry in IT firms, and we can see a lot of CEOs or CTOs are coming up from India only. So it's a knowledge-based process here, traditional oriented process. But actually, when coming to the application level also, majority are able to transform themselves into that platform to exhibit their skills. But actually,
Mhm.
what I feel is that, as you have mentioned, only 10 or 20% person may be able to do like that, or to from premier institutes. When we are taking the other tier 2 or tier 3 categories, or in the rural areas of India, there are a lot of graduates. They may be having good skill set, but due to the lack of communication skills or the ability to express their ideas or getting a good platform to exhibit themselves, they may be lagging some skills. So if the government is coming forward with some innovative idea to enhance, to reduce the gap or bridge between the rural urban classification, and to provide a platform irrespective of the grade or the background or the language they speak, if they're getting a platform to upskill themselves, like an industry, for example, now we are entering into the electric vehicle era. So if the industries are able to collaborate with the state government to establish a center and make it and open to all the students, it will be upskilling themselves to get an employability, because all the students are migrating not to become Einstein or Newton. I mean, majority, they need to get a job, and they are
Hmm.
not willing to come back to India. But actually I feel that India is a country of lot of opportunity, a lot of traditions, culture, and in long way India will be having lot of scope also. But here majority will be leaving and the country will be undergoing the transformation. And what is your opinion regarding this concept?
Yeah, I think like I've briefly touched upon it, talent mobility, right, is an ongoing phenomenon. I think that's why I mentioned there is a blurring of boundaries, whether it's national boundaries, economic or social boundaries. And I think that is inevitable because, for example, when I came over to do my PhD at Cambridge, and then I got this fellowship from Oxford, there were many times when I had applied to Indian universities of government positions and so on and so forth, and I've got rejected, right? So I do not, and for the just because most of the times it is either you are overqualified for the position or they do not have the necessary setup to give a platform for people like us. So that is where we have to understand that sometimes we have to be able to be in places where our talent or our skills can be utilized. Now, I think brain drain, as of now, is not we talk a lot about it during probably like 10 or 15 years ago. But if you look at it, from Sundar Pichai to Satya Nadella to Agarwal, I know he's outsider today, but still, um, India has a lot of cultural capital that is going on across the globe, and it's just like a circular economy. It you bring back a lot of things back to your country. You don't necessarily have to work there. You don't necessarily have to be there full time to be able to contribute to the growth of it. So I think it's two ways. For example, if I'm all the skills and knowledge that I have acquired over the past 10 years of being in outside India, I have always given it back to the country, right? Like through mentorship, through having conversations such as this sort, and to be able to give a platform for the younger generation to be able to see those visible role models and so on and so forth. And I think that is one thing. However you contribute, whether it's through my startups or whatever, I'm just giving myself as an example. And another thing is, um, parallelly, the government and the institutions and so on also needs to ensure that there is an incentive for people to come back to India. Yes. So it cannot be, if I have been qualified enough to be a power electronics researcher or a specialist or an expert, I need to have enough of an incentive to be back in India, not just economical, but the right platform. So that's where I think countries like China is very unique and different from India. So they have lots of scholarships, they have lots of um, structures and processes in place, which will ensure that if you ask a Chinese student, more than 90% of my colleagues in Cambridge engineering department, in electrical engineering department, have been Chinese. And they will never think of settling abroad because China has such huge um, vision and plans in place that they will actually, take all these people back, they know exactly what they're going back to. So I think um, people think that we don't want to return because we are just, going behind the things that's here. The thing is, um, most of the people who will actually apply back to India, who have studied in Ivy Leagues, will get rejected if you're applying to, traditional in positions in traditional structures and all that. So I think ensuring that there is a long-term plan for utilizing our rich human resource capital. There is a reason why Indians are in the topmost levels in all the global corporations. That shows a skill set. That shows the capability and capacity of an Indian. But if Satya Nadella was in India, I will he have had the opportunity to do what he's doing? The thing is, their skill set will be different. My skill set will be very different from someone who will flourish in India. See, there is so many facets to it. A technological expertise is not just enough. Our character, our skill set, me or any other person's priorities in life, right? What do we want from life? Does that blend in with the country or with the culture that we are in? So there's a lot of different factors which ultimately decides where a person will flourish. So I think that is a very brain drain is not a simple brain getting drained to another country. No, 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 that's not the case, right? There are a lot of social, economical, and fundamental environmental factors contributing to that. And I think there needs to be structural processes, a vision, a roadmap from the government, from the think tank, and people like us, obviously, are part of these discussions. I think it will happen at some point, but I don't see any reason why India doesn't have the capacity to take back everyone that's around the globe, right? We need to ensure that that circular what do you call looping of knowledge and skills that's happening. So that would be my take. I think that is a very complicated phenomenon, in fact.
Exactly. And one more thing, in case of not only engineering, now we are seeing the emerging technology like artificial intelligence, machine learning, data science, robotics, and these subjects can be blended with any subjects, whether it's art, science, management like MBA, or medical field also, because now we are having robotic surgery also. So this technical enhanced subjects can be blended with other core branches also. So fundamentally, we used to tell that engineering means maths, physics, all these things should come.
Mm.
And students usually, on a layman point of view, or students will be asking, we are learning a lot of mathematics, where in real life we are using all these things. Ultimately, if they are going for higher studies or the research, they will be able to understand. And finally, the worst thing about our system, I mean, there are good things and bad things also. We are always focusing, as you have mentioned, for the knowledge side or the theory side. Ultimately, these students are not, if they are not able to understand by reading a technical paper or anything like that and create their own perspective of visualization of the concept, but they may be good in academics. That is the most uh, I mean, the saddest thing happening really now. They may be having good grades, but actually they are not able to analyze on their recently the thing is that that is a main problem facing in the college level. So in future, if they are in as per the new education policy, all institution will be having the autonomy, or where they are more focusing on the skills. And there is other thing that regional languages will be giving priority, but I don't know what will be the future of that. So all these things are quite confusing. But anyway, we can just hope for a transformation happening. So what's your opinion regarding the emerging subjects like AI, data science, machine learning, how it can be blended with the core subjects, more or less?
So, yeah, you've touched upon a lot of key points there. And obviously, like we have, I think, consistently touched upon the fact that we are a very knowledge based, traditional teaching environment landscape in India. And it is changing. So, I think people don't realize, right, like that mathematics and physics is all around, right? You see a pillar, you see a circular, you look at stuff. And I think as students, we do not, our teachers never probably told us, right? Look around you. Why are things cylindrical? Why are pillars triangular? Why do we have a truss as a triangular shape? How are the loads balanced? So it is basically, even the mathematics, if you look at it, is a gradual progression happening, and which is bringing all this beauty of physics and mathematics together to essentially create the field of engineering. So obviously, engineering, or the fundamental teaching, how it is delivered, has to become very problem and challenge based, or in simple words, learning by doing, right? That is the way forward. And that is the only way where not just concepts and theory, but also practical skills. So it's all three getting developed at the same time. So that is one thing. Fundamentally, I think governments, schools, authorities, management, everyone needs to really focus on how this teaching is delivered. What is the pedagogical innovation, and how is it all very experiential learning, and so on and so forth. So I think that is happening, at least in many parts of India. I know there are many, schools and so on coming. Like you said, there's so many innovations happening in India. India is a hub of innovation, right? There's a lot of things going on, which is truly fascinating and admirable at many levels. And so I think that will go on. And even in the West, they are all still catching up, right? For example, I do very learning by doing, or very challenged based learning in my classrooms. But then there's a lot of like innovative thinking and creativity that needs to go into the program as such to be able to do that. So that's one aspect of it. Now, coming back to your second question about the different emerging trends of artificial intelligence, data analytics, and so on and so forth. And I think these kind of core specialist subjects, which obviously, if you think about artificial intelligence, it is based on this whole concept of how our brain functions, right? On a very generic level. Yeah, it is that is the motivation behind it. So I think having those things inculcated right from the school level, at a certain level in schools, and moving forward. See, even if you look at it, artificial intelligence, the core definition, we are trying to create something that can think and work like humans. It's all about intelligence and how we define intelligence, and so on and so forth. So we are basically exploring if a machine can work like a human, right? Or can it surpass a human? That is the general intelligence we are talking about. Now, even by that very definition, if you look at it, we are talking about humans. So humans are not just physics and math. We are not just atoms and molecules and so on. We are a lot. We are emotions. We are a lot of different things. So fundamentally, that itself makes it very clear that to be able to, and using artificial intelligence in a socially responsible way, we need to be able to think about the ethics of it. We are talking about a load of data. Data is actually a lot of like valid information that's coming up from people, right? Like it's not just zeros and ones. So how do we use that? And so we need to know history. We need to know so many things behind how people respond, countries respond, how we deal with things. So I think having the generic umbrella overview that artificial intelligence or data analytics or bioengineering or and so on and so forth, or artificial organs, all these are not just science and technology. They coexist very much with arts and humanities and all the core other subjects as well. They are all very integral part of society. So I think this needs to be really incorporated. And I have touched upon this right at the start. There is no siloing, right, of subjects or of work. It's a very fluid environment. And I think that has to be incorporated into a child's curriculum and a child's mind right from the very beginning of their education in small steps. So that is where I would feel that educational organizations, governments, policy level There needs to be, and India is like doing a lot of great stuff, especially in Delhi and with the Indian government, like revamping our educational policy. There is a lot of scope for a development and revolutionary development. And I think all we need to do is just make use of this. Now there is policy. Now there is, there is a need to implement it. I would say small steps.
Okay, then coming into the STEM education, as mentioned in your profile, that is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. What will be the impact of imparting the STEM education at the school level? Because many countries like Greece or the other countries, they are imparting the STEM education to understand the aptitude of students from a base level. What is the importance of STEM?
I think science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, I would say within the realm of arts and humanities or in collaboration with it, is extremely important. We are in a time of unprecedented change. So to be successful, right, in managing and finding solution to all the complicated issues of today, whether it's pandemics, whether it's climate change, whether it's engineering life at Mars, whatever it is, we need transformative approaches. And so to be able to address this technical, societal, political, geographical, and environmental challenges, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics in collaboration with arts and humanities is the way forward. So I would necessarily portray myself as a STEM ambassador just because I come from an engineering and technology background. And there are a lot of people in arts and humanities as opposed to STEM, right? There is a lot less attraction towards STEM because people just think it is, you have to be a mathematical genius or you have to be a Nobel Prize winning physicist to be actually doing something worthwhile. No, that's not the case. All you need to have is you need to be courageous, you need to be creative, you need to be curious, you need to be courageous to put this curiosity and creativity into practice. And I think that's what people in STEM essentially do. We are just profoundly creative, and that's how we find problems, we define problems, and we solve problems. So I think there is that need to make people understand that not just arts and humanities is for creative people. Engineering is a profoundly creative endeavor.
Yes, coming into the electrical engineering side, we can see in India we are having 220 volts and 50 hertz, but in some other countries we are having 110 like
Mhm.
that. So we are using an adapter. So there is no globally difference in this pattern. And in some of the part we are having the neutral as black, then face as red, then the green will be given to the ground. But in America and all, the neutral they are going for white color. So there is a total deviation in all these patterns, but ultimately the concept remains the same. So coming into the power electronics, your area of interest, as I think it's something related to solid state devices. So, in coming to that, what will be the future applications of power electronics when blended with other core subjects and like emerging technologies? What will be the applications?
So yes, just to very quickly shed light on what power electronics means. Again, I think that is something that the common man uses day in and day out, but is very much unaware, right? So when we talk about electricity, we all think about the wall outlets, taking the plug, charging your laptop or phone or whatever, and doing all the millions of things that we do. But like you've pointed out, we get a 220 volt out from your wall outlet. Your laptop might be working at one level, your washing machine might be at another level, and all the hundreds of gadgets and appliances are working at different levels. So we need to have something that needs to convert this 220 into a workable voltage for your device or gadget to work. And that is exactly what a power electronic converter does. It converts, or let's say it conditions electrical power so that, we get working devices. Now, what we don't realize is for example, when our phone is working, right? It eventually becomes hot. So electricity is obviously converted. That's how your phone is running. But almost on an average, 10% is lost as heat. Now, just imagine if a phone you're losing 10%, imagine the millions of devices across the globe. We are losing out trillions of amounts of energy, and it is also a money, right? We always pay for the energy supplied to our homes, not just for the energy we use. Now, all this actually boils down to your power electronics. If your power electronics is good or great or highly efficient, you can reduce that 10% energy loss to 0.9% or something like that, very, very less. You can bring it down significantly. So the better your power electronics, the better your conversion. So we all talk about, oh, which phone should we buy? What's the battery power? What's the charging time? So this is actually a power electronics decision. We are talking about electric cars, right? And everyone's like, oh, range. What is the range? Like, how long will it stay on, or how long does it take it for it to charge? Again, that is a power electronics decision. The power electronics inside your powertrain basically decides all that. So whether it's your any of your electrical or electronic devices, whether it's a transportation, whether it's industrial equipments, and so on and so forth, anything and everything has power electronics inside it. So fundamentally or statistically, almost 80% of all the energy that we use go through power electronics. And within a couple of years, we envision that almost 100% of energy will be converted through a power electronic device. Now that is made possible by something called as a switch inside this power electronics. And it is made, let's say conventionally, it is made using silicon. So we have many of those things in different forms. We call it transistor, we call it MOSFET or whatever. I won't go into the technicalities. It's just a switch at the end of the day. And that's the silicon chip that we generally people know about, right? And yeah, to answer your question, I think I've already answered
Yes.
it. In a couple of years' time, it's just going to be everywhere. So most of your day-to-day decisions of buying a gadget and so on and so forth is actually a power electronic decision. We don't realize it. Your electricity bill can be significantly reduced if the power electronics is changed. So
Yes.
all those things in daily life is a power electronics decision. So I would say it's just ubiquitous. It's everywhere.
Yes. So thank you, Dr. Nikita, for your valuable times for this forum, life made up of questions for a social cause. So thank you for sharing your vision as well as ideas regarding the education transformation, applications of technology, the blended technology, and last, your area of interest, the power electronics. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. I hope it was useful, and thank you so much for doing this. I wish you all the very best for this wonderful initiative. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.